Welcome everyone to the Kamper Report. I am your host, Benjamin Camperman. And again, I had to do this late night because I've been super busy the last week, basketball starting and everything. So I had to do this late night, but hey, we gotta be back. The 49ers had a huge win versus the Rams, so we have to start it off with that. Let's start off with the Rams versus the 49ers. This was an exciting game. The 49ers were outmatched in every single there was not an area, really. There was not an area that you looked and said the 49ers have an advantage over the Rams. There just really wasn't. There was not an area where you looked and you said 49ers are going to beat the Rams in this aspect of the game. 49ers offensive line was not that good. 49ers coming into this game, 49ers, I mean, they were going to get overpowered by the Rams. 49ers offensive line, we thought was going to get overpowered. Matthew Stafford now, we were all saying Jared Goff, the Jared Goff train, but Matthew Stafford played really well. Matthew Stafford, up until this point, had played really well, except from that last Titans game. And so we were thinking, this game, they have a better quarterback. The 49ers have faced the Rams with Jared Goff, but they haven't faced them with Matthew Stafford. And so we were thinking this is going to be a different animal because you've got Matthew Stafford now who is way better than Jared Goff. But the one thing that we were underestimating out of everything was, this is what it was, is that the 49ers know what the Rams want to do. Also, the other thing that we were underestimating is the Rams had just come off of a blowout loss to the Titans. They had just come off of a blowout loss, okay, to a Titans team, okay? That is very good, but nevertheless. So the Titans, the Rams don't have momentum either. It's not like the Rams have momentum. 49ers didn't have momentum, but neither did the Rams. So yeah, the Rams are coming off of a loss that was versus the Titans. But this loss, I feel like it was more important than a lot of people give it credit for. The Rams lost to the Titans because they weren't coming in with any momentum against the 49ers. So the 49ers were able to, they weren't getting smushed by the Rams' energy because the Rams didn't have good energy because they were trying to rebound as well as the 49ers were. I really liked, the 49ers, let's start off with the first thing. Defensive line played really well. But the thing that was most impressive to me was their corners. Josh Norman had no pass interference penalties. That was the first time, I believe, he's done that all season long. It has been crazy to see we were all thinking, I do not like Josh Norman. For me, I did not like that signing. A veteran, I kind of liked it, but it was not a good signing. So Josh Norman, a guy who usually gives up around 3 pass interference penalties per game, gave up none, okay? You obviously had no Robert Woods by the Rams, but Odell Beckham was on a snap count. So that's basically all. So all you have is Cooper Kupp and an injured running back in Darrell Henderson, who has been dealing with injuries. So all you have is Cooper Kupp. At this point, the offense usually revolves around Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. But now, all the offense was revolving around on Monday night was Cooper Kupp. That's all the 49ers had to do to shut it down. So that was really important for the 49ers. They got 2 picks early, just like the Titans did. First 2 picks of the game, they got 2 picks. One of them was a pick 6, exactly like the Titans did. That was so impressive. I was so impressed when they did that because that really gave the 49ers the momentum in the game to kind of get going earlier on. Their offense was rolling. And the 49ers, going over to the offensive side of the ball, they didn't even run the ball that good. Like their main running back, Elijah Mitchell, who, by the way, they're optimistic. He had a finger surgery, has a broken finger. They're optimistic that he can come back on Sunday. But the 49ers didn't even, their main leading rusher, I believe Elijah Mitchell, only averaged 3.5 yards per carry. So it's not even like they were running the ball. but they ran it 40 times. They ran it consistently well. And that was the thing that was most impressive, is the 49ers ran it down the Rams' throat. And let me give you some quick stats. So Jimmy Garoppolo only threw it 19 times, okay? They didn't throw it too many times. And it's so funny that the 49ers, what works is getting back to basics. Basically, all the 49ers had to do to beat the Rams was get back to basics, which is not what they had been doing before. They basically got back to what worked well for them in the past. Instead of throwing it 40 times, they got back to basics. They basically said, we're going to run it down your throat. And it's so funny how they went to what works, and that was just basically getting back to basics on offense, running the ball 50 times. And they didn't even have to run it that effectively. The other thing was, when they did pass it, even though they only passed it 19 times, I don't know if you guys know this stat, but there was a stat I think that the NFL brought up. 1 QB hit and 1 sack on Jimmy Garoppolo all night. That was roughly for half of the game with Jalen Smith, who went out. He's a very good right tackle, looked really good. But then Tom Compton. But that's still really impressive. I mean, you had Tom Compton in there, only 1 sack, only 1 pressure, because they were getting Jimmy Garoppolo easy throws, easy situations, and basically saying, hey, we're going to put you in very easy spots. We're going to run it a ton, and all you have to do is make these pretty easy throws. But Jimmy Garoppolo played really well. I mean, this is probably the 3rd consecutive game where he hasn't thrown a pick. He hasn't played scared, and I was very impressed by him. I mean, it was one of those games where you're like, okay, Jimmy Garoppolo literally almost did not have a mistake, which is so good to see, because in a game like this, you can't make him have a mistake. The 49ers basically played how the Titans did the week against the Rams, which was last week. They basically said, we're not going to kill ourselves. We're not going to turn the ball over. We are going to make you – we're not going to shoot ourselves in the foot. We're going to make you make mistakes eventually, and that is when we'll get you. And that was the thing that was the most key, is 49ers didn't make any mistakes, and they basically said to the Rams, we're going to make you shoot yourself in the foot before we do ours. So the Rams, 2 early picks, and they capitalized. That was the greatest thing. 49ers capitalized off of those interceptions. They got up 10-0, 14-0 earlier on in the game, and it really gave them momentum throughout the whole game. So ran the ball really good. Jimmy Garoppolo played a solid game, 15 for 19. Didn't throw the ball much, but when he did, he didn't really put it, for the most part, in harm's way. Defensively, cornerbacks basically zeroed in on Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was the offense, and they basically said, we're going to shut you down, and you guys are going to have to go elsewhere. This game didn't even look like Matthew Stafford. It looked like a Jared Goff game. Like, it was so surprising, because Matthew Stafford looked like Jared Goff against the 49ers in this game. I know a ton of people have said that, but they made Matthew Stafford look like a chump. They made him look like Jared Goff always has. And so, it leads me to believe, yeah, Matthew Stafford's great, but is he any different against the 49ers? And again, like I said earlier on, this was the type of game where there was no aspect in the game coming into this game did we say the 49ers have an advantage. No aspect. But they were able to power it through and somehow run the ball good. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't make mistakes, and their defense, who we thought was going to be the weakness, really, really, really played well. And so it was encouraging to see, nevertheless. I really was encouraged by this win. Let's say, looking ahead to playoff chances, we're only half a game back from the playoffs, right? We have, I believe, Jacksonville and Minnesota the next 2 games. Now, you can't assume with the 49ers, because you can't assume anything in the NFL. So far, what we've seen in the NFL is games that have just not gone the way we want it to. We've basically seen anything but normal in the NFL this year. There's been so many upsets, so many different things that you cannot think that the 49ers are going to beat the Jacksonville. It's not a guarantee that the 49ers will beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Because no team nothing has gone like that. So it's not really a surprise. So I'm not going to count the Vikings and the Jacksonville Jaguars game as automatic wins. The 49ers will have to prove themselves that they can beat both of those teams. But if they do, you're now looking at a 6-5 team with a real-life 3-game winning streak if they win these next 2 games, which is very plausible. You're looking at a team that is probably in the playoff race and now has won 3 straight games. Looking ahead to the Vikings, if they beat the Vikings in 2 weeks, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're looking at a team that now has a winning record. So this Rams win was so good to see, because it's like now they got back to basics, and now the 49ers are alive again. The NFC, the bottom of the half of the NFC, the 7th seed is up for grabs, and the 49ers, the next 2 games, can capitalize. Again, Vikings and Jaguars are not that hard. If you can go 6-5, you're most likely 7th seed right now. So, after this Rams win, it was encouraging. Have the 49ers finally found their identity? I have no idea. The NFL goes like this. It basically goes, it's really hard to figure out the NFL. But for right now, the 49ers are looking good, and hopefully they can stay healthy. Jimmy Garoppolo can play like he has been. 49ers should have a good shot at the playoffs. Encouraging win for the 49ers. So, anyways, I've been on that topic for the last 12 minutes or whatever, but I just wanted to lay out what I saw from the Rams versus 49ers game. It was so encouraging offensively, defensively, so encouraging. So I spent a while on that topic, but I felt I needed to. Let's get going to the second topic,